All right, everyone, you can tell by the massive reaction of the legacy media that, people on the left are worried about Trump's re-election chances because they are high. They're not going to admit it publicly, and in public what they say is, well, he's got a plan, but it probably won't work. If we just come together as a party, which isn't going to happen for reasons I'll explain, then we can win this. Orange man bad, and the sun will come out tomorrow, and rainbows will shine, and unicorns frolic through the glen, and stupid shit like that. But Trump is, again, doing what I expected him to do, which is he's antagonizing the far left again. He's calling Ilhan Omar, Presley there, Tlaib, and AOC, like the squad. He should call them the Gang of Four because then it evokes images of communism. That I think would be more in line. I'm sure he has reasons for calling him the Squad. Maybe it's like shorthand for the shit squad or something like that. But now he's calling them not very smart. He's like, well, these inexperienced young people, they're not very smart. His whole goal is to antagonize the far left. For the DNC, for the Democratic Party at large, it's the perfect storm. See, what happened is that you had the Justice Democrat thing, and I think the idea behind that might have predated Trump's serious run for president. Like finding AOC and all these others that are basically actors in order to try to take control of the Democratic Party, which is the explicit goal of Chakrabarty, which is AOC's chief of staff, is to usher in socialism. Like in his actual explicit literal words. It's very funny because people on the far left will be like, oh, it's not real socialism. Look, so I should not take it seriously when a butcherous, insane, bloody ideology responsible for hundreds of millions of deaths is the explicit goal of people that are one step removed from the House of Representatives. I'm supposed to ignore that fact? Anyway. So they're a bunch of far leftists, the Justice Dems. I think Cenk totally lost control of this situation because I don't think he's quite that far left. I think his idea is just, well, we'll put younger, easily controlled people in there, and then Cenk, along with some of these others, we will have some degree of control within the U.S. political system. It's exciting, it's probably lucrative, it can defend us from, various anti-defamation laws potentially, so it'll be a good investment, basically. We get a good ROI because, basically they're running against long-term incumbents that will be shattered very easily, which is what happened. The problem is that I think that it coincidentally, the rise of the Justice Dems, so-called, these so-called progressives, really socialists within the Democratic Party, is coincidental to the rise of Trump. The problem is that now the Democratic Party, like their corporate core, has to deal with a situation where the Justice Dems that are there, their explicit ideas to try to come to the fore, be very visible, be that sort of tech generation far-left Democrat group. Their whole goal relies upon them getting press. It relies upon them getting attention. That's why they got in the positions they're in the first place. That's how they'll be reelected potentially in their districts. Trump knows this. And Trump's whole goal is to keep those same people in the press, very visible. What can Pelosi do about it? But fuck nothing. As long as Trump is very careful in how he chooses to antagonize, he can make sure that one or more of those four individuals will always be angry. They will always be yelling. They will always be highly visible, drowning out the regular Democrats in the process. So that all that people are going to see up through the election, other than whoever happens to be the candidate running against him, will really be these shrieking individuals who want to usher in far leftism. And who will use wedge issues, and very, very up to your face, they'll tell you, yeah, we want to raise taxes on people. Don't you realize what a disaster going into an election proclaiming you want to raise taxes actually is? It'd be one thing if it were like a Pelosi style thing, or even a Biden thing, to be honest, and it were, well, we want to raise taxes on the top income earners. That's an age-old liberal argument. Oh, well, we need a little more welfare. This time, after 60 years of applying ourselves to a little more welfare each generation, this time it will magically alleviate all poverty and everyone will get along and everything will be perfect. This time, this 2% incremental marginal tax increase on the top income earners will solve the problem. This time, it'll be different from every other time. People have too short an attention span to realize that that's full of fucking shit and never going to work. Those incremental increases over time are undone later on by Republican administrations because they don't work. Then you get more debt because you've weakened the economy with your incremental increases, and the whole thing repeats itself over and over. Trump's the only one to kind of break the mold. He actually attempted to reform the tax code, did a decent job, although I think he should go further. It's the perfect storm, because you have a group of people who are very popular among the youth voters that the Democrats desperately need in this election. They're very unpopular in their districts. They're woefully unpopular with swing voters. They're horrifically unpopular with business Dems. But they're extremely popular with the youth far-left vote. That's like 10%, 15% of the Democratic core. And probably the most important if you want people to go ring doorbells. Who else are you going to... Are you going to get some 70-year-old rock-ribbed business Dem voter to go door-to-door to knock on doors for Bernie Sanders? No. But that barely able to vote 18-year-old over there fresh out of high school, yes, they're probably willing to do so. College kids. People who are in that age, basically the 18 to 25 demographic is the least likely to vote, but the most likely to go and campaign and volunteer. And so that's what the Democrats need. They need that energy. Trump is making that energy go so wild, it's burning up the rest of the Democratic Party. Because by default, when you have these very far left individuals that are driving all that attention and excitement, it takes away from all the other people in the Democratic Party. Now, some business Dem that's running on a moderate platform probably doesn't matter because they can wink to their constituents locally and say, look, I don't believe in this bullshit any more than you do. This is just some New York bullshit, some California hogwash, basically. Don't think too much about it. I won't vote with them, don't worry. But if I'm Joe Biden, inevitably that is going to affect my campaign because I'm going to have all these younger voters demanding that I take up those issues. And Trump knows to antagonize them. By saying that they're not very smart, it forces these four Democrats to respond. He's forcing them to come to the fore yet again a week after his initial comments. Things started to quiet down a little. He said, nope, not going to let it quiet down. I'm going to insult you again. And as long as he makes them, or people like them, the butt of his jokes, he's home free. He's going to be compared to their angry, unhinged responses. He will seem sensible by default in comparison to the group he's chosen to be compared to, which is his whole fucking goal, and his approval will rise. He can probably get to 50% approval just in this method. You got a decent economy, no major wars, no major domestic scandals, although the Democrats keep trying to manufacture one. None that touches the swing voters anyway. That's really the metric to judge that by. You can say Mueller. Independent voters obviously don't fucking give a shit. You do realize 45% of the country approves of Trump. 45% of the country is not Republican partisans. That represents millions of independent voters that support him right here and now without any further effort. That's a 2-point increase in the last couple of months. Why? Because he's finally being compared to the far left. He's not being compared to Obama. He's not being compared to Democratic Party as sort of a bland, malleable sort of slogan. He's being compared to AOC and Rashida Tlaib and all these people, and they can't help it. Their whole goal is to be at the fore. That was the express goal of the Justice Democrats, was to get these candidates in, get the foot in the door, have them raise hell, and collapse the neoliberal DNC so that the Democrats become a socialist party. Shocker Barty is telling you straight up to your face. He's one of the main architects of the whole thing. He's telling people, yeah, it's socialism we're doing. And yet people say it's not actual socialism because some purist definition tells me it's not. Oh, he's not suggesting nationalization of every industry, therefore it's not pure socialism, so it's not socialism. It's like the no true Scotsman argument. It's like saying you're not a libertarian, you don't believe in open borders. Well, yeah, if you agree with everything else on the Libertarian Manifesto, except for one fucking issue, then you're just being a purist if you say that they're not. You're not really a Democrat, you voted for Trump once. You're not really a Republican because you're never a Trumper. These things are being conflated and overlapped improperly. Yes, these people are socialists. They are self-proclaimedly socialists. Bernie Sanders is a socialist. The chief of staff for AOC is a socialist. Ilhan Omar is a socialist. It doesn't matter if they use the term democratic socialist. What, so you can't get socialism in a democratic vote? They did in Venezuela. That's what pisses them off most, is that problem. And that's what'll keep him from being elected, hopefully, too. But here's the thing. Trump knows. To win the next election, there are several things he has to do. Oversee a decent economy, no recession. It doesn't have to, surge ahead. It can just be growing. But it has to be felt as though it was positive by most of the population. I think he's pretty much got that down pat. I don't expect a recession in the next 12 months. I wouldn't worry too much. So no recession. No major wars. And while he's been posturing with Iran, he's held back pretty well. It doesn't look like anything's imminent there. We've mostly scaled down our intent in Syria. He's right now going all in on Afghanistan, trying to get a final agreement with the Taliban of all groups. Look, if you can seal a deal, if the U.S. government is led by someone who can seal a deal with the fucking Taliban, yeah, that's pretty good. That's a pretty good foreign policy success, assuming it doesn't fall apart the second our troops leave. We will see, Mr. Trump. We'll see if that one actually works. I have more faith on Trump for Trump in Korea or someplace than I do in Afghanistan, in all honesty. I don't think he should have left U.S. I think he left U.S. forces there to force a peace agreement, but a few thousand troops is not going to be able to go toe-to-toe even with the Taliban, no matter how sophisticated the equipment and air support we have is over there. Final agreement, the Taliban agrees to give us discounted heroin. Something like that. Just said Artie Lang over there again. The problem will be solved. There won't be any drugs left for anyone else to use. But those are two things. And number 3, he has to antagonize the Gang of Four. That's all he has to do because it drowns out Pelosi. It drowns out the candidates. Look, Biden is a boring kind of dude. Warren is boring. These people get outshined by the 4 horsewomen of the apocalypse, and it keeps them from gaining traction. He's drowning out the Democratic field by repeatedly, he's found a nerve, and now he's pinching it over and over again. It's like he found the Democrats' funny bone, and so he's hitting it with a rubber mallet over and over again. Why would he stop? It's working. Why on earth, when people look at Trump and say, well, he's inept, he's weak, he doesn't know what he's doing, he's unhinged, you don't understand how Trump operates. He's doing this on purpose. It is very purposeful. After 2 years, you'd think that people would have wised up to his strategies, but the thing is, he's masterfully created them in such a way. He's been coincidentally given a crown by the Democratic Party in the form of the Justice Dems, because it leaves them so vulnerable, so weak, and so easily outmaneuvered, because these individuals are very formulaic, and Trump can run rings around them while antagonizing them and forcing them to scream bloody murder, drowning out any sense that you would have from the neoliberals. And that's what he needs to do. So by calling them not very smart, look, if somebody says, well, he's calling a bunch of women not very smart, what a sexist. He's calling a bunch of so-called minorities not very smart, what a racist. If somebody cares about that sort of bullshit, they're already not supporting Trump. I think you'll find the average independent voter doesn't give a fuck. They look at the economy and their wallet and tax code. They look at foreign diplomacy and domestic tranquility and these things. They look at these things and then they're judging Trump based on that. The other thing they're judging him based on is he's not one of these 4 people. So when he comes out and says, oh, well, these people are morons, and they start shrieking for 48 hours about, sexism, racism, evil misogyny, the need for eliminating transatlantic flight, when they do that, they look stupid. It's just like this, whatever her name is, the legislator there that claimed that dude, she was in the express aisle, I guess, Erica something or other, some local representative, and had more than 10 items, and she said that he said something like, go back to your home or something, and he never said that, and now she's walking it back, but like de Blasio and others jumped all over it and said, well, this is Trump's America, it's racist. It turns out what he was actually saying is, hey, you're a lazy son of a bitch, which is true because you got more than 10 items in the 10-item aisle. Fucking get a life. Go to a different aisle and stop slowing things down like a jackass. And if it were a white male politician, he had said that too, I guarantee the press wouldn't have descended on the situation as though it was Armageddon, now would it? Because, again, the Dems literally are the racists in the country. It's very interesting. People are beginning to see that. It's very funny to see. That's about all. Peace out.